My best friend Kelly has been eyeing my ancestral jade pendant. In my previous life, my boyfriend Robert pretended to be generous and let me lend the jade pendant to my best friend Kelly to wear for a few days. I agreed reluctantly for the sake of face. Unexpectedly, the end of the world is approaching, and her best friend Kelly uses the space in the jade pendant to stockpile a large amount of supplies in advance. But she didn't tell anyone, and even instigated her boyfriend Robert to sell me to the fat guy downstairs for the price of 2 boxes of instant noodles. After my rebirth, I looked at my best friend Kelly, who came to borrow the jade pendant, and couldn't help sneering in my heart. This trick again? Did Kelly think that she was the only one who could be reborn? The story is about to begin. If you like it, remember to like and follow. In front of the apartment door, my best friend Kelly was looking at me pitifully with her hands folded together. Elena, I remember you have an heirloom jade pendant. Can you lend it to me for 2 days? Kelly looks innocent to begin with, and now she's acting coquettishly and showing weakness, which makes her really hard to refuse. I stood there in amazement, and it took me a while to realize I was born again. And he was reborn at the moment when the space jade pendant was stolen. In the previous life, doomsday came and the zombie virus swept the world. Kelly used the space in the jade pendant to stockpile a large amount of supplies in advance, but she didn't tell anyone and only used them secretly. One time, I clearly saw her licking ice cream, but when I approached her, she looked at me innocently and said, "Elena, are you hallucinating because you're hungry? Where is the ice cream here?" I didn't believe it. The air was still filled with that sweet fragrance. Later, the family ran out of supplies. At Kelly's instigation, Robert sold me to the fat guy downstairs for 2 boxes of instant noodles. I begged for mercy humbly, but she smiled smugly. "Elena, you are right, I do have a lot of supplies. I have to thank you for the space in your jade pendant, which allowed me to store a few years' worth of food in advance." I took a deep breath and tried my best to stay calm. Even though he was reborn, he couldn't help shaking when he recalled the pain of being torn apart by zombies. And this is all thanks to Kelly. Before I could say anything, an impatient male voice came out. "Isn't it just a jade pendant? What's wrong with borrowing Kelly to wear it for 2 days? Don't be so stingy." In the apartment, Robert sat upright, and his disapproving eyes shot towards me like 2 sharp arrows. He has always been accustomed to standing on the moral high ground to accuse others. In my previous life, if he hadn't taken the lead in PUAing me, even if Kelly was my best friend Kelly, I would never have lent out something as important as the ancestral jade pendant. When I thought about how I had wasted so many years on such a scumbag, I sneered. "Last time I went to your house, didn't your aunt wear a bracelet worth hundreds of thousands of dollars? Since you are so helpful, why don't you persuade your aunt to lend the bracelet to Kelly for a few days?" Robert was choked and stunned. His face was a little embarrassed. "What nonsense are you talking about? My mother and Kelly are not familiar with each other." "Now you know you are not familiar with it? Why were you so generous when you were advising people to donate generously just now?" I lowered my eyes, hiding the coldness in them. I was the one who was stupid in my previous life. I can't blame others. But in this life, they can forget about my space. Seeing that I was not listening, the pitiful expression on Kelly's face quickly disappeared. She gathered the broken hair around her ears and said in a negotiating tone, "Elena, I really like that jade pendant. How about this, you name a price and I'll buy it, okay?" Hearing this, my eyes sparkled. Stockpiling supplies costs money. I just graduated and there are only a few thousand yuan on my card. With a fat sheep like Kelly coming to your doorstep, it would be a shame not to kill her. "Okay, one price, 100,000. $100,000, why don't you just go and rob?" Robert was unhappy at first. "The jade pendant itself may not be worth 100,000. I slowly explained, "But it's a family heirloom. It means a lot to me, far more than $100,000. Robert wanted to argue again, but Kelly stopped him. "I agree." She walked to the corner and made a few phone calls, and quickly gathered 100,000 yuan for me to scan the code. Of course I took out the jade pendant as well. However, the jade pendant has a dull luster and looks even worse than the fake ones that cost a few dollars on the street stalls. Kelly's eyes flashed with hesitation, and she asked tentatively, "Elena, are you sure this is the jade pendant passed down from your ancestors?" "Yes." I nodded affirmatively. Robert was afraid that I was using a fake jade pendant to deceive people, so he quickly lowered his head to check it again. Unfortunately, the jade pendant is real, but the space inside it was already bound to me when I just returned to the room to get the jade pendant. In other words, this jade pendant has no other use except for its decorative function. That's right. There's a small gap here on the jade pendant. I saw it when she took it out last time. Robert's tone was very firm. Hearing this, Kelly quickly put the jade pendant away as if she was afraid that I would regret it. After the two of them left, I closed the door and began to familiarize myself with the use of the space. The structure of the space is very simple. It is a sphere with a radius of 50 meters. In addition to having a storage function, the time inside is paused, and the things you put in will remain the same as they were when you take them out. It is now October 11th, 2353, a little after 7 in the morning. In the previous life, the zombie virus broke out at 5 o'clock in the afternoon of this day. That means I still have more than 10 hours to prepare. Thinking of this, I quickly took out my cell phone. Mom and Dad, go to town and stock up on supplies. The more the better. My dad shouted, "What's going on? Are they going to close the city again? Haven't we heard any news?" I quickly asked him to lower his voice. People's minds are hard to predict at the end of the world. If you are targeted by others, it will be more trouble than gain. Let's not talk about it for now. Anyway, go stock up on supplies first. Remember to be careful and don't get discovered by acquaintances. After the call, I ordered hundreds of breakfasts directly on my phone. Generally speaking, the food in breakfast shops is prepared in advance and only needs to be packed. After putting my breakfast into my space, I drove to an outdoor gear store in the city. We also rented a few cars along the way. RVs, vans, SUVs, almost all types of vehicles that might be used after the apocalypse were rented. Of course, the rent is not cheap either. But the good thing is that I only have to pay for the first 2 days' rent. After arriving at the store, I threw a shopping list directly to the boss. 20 boxes of windproof lighters, 50 cigarettes in each box. 100 boxes of anthracite, 10 boxes of heating pads. 20 boxes of gas stoves and matching canned gas. 10 boxes of alcohol blocks, 2 small solar panels for charging mobile phones. 20 USB flash drives that can be used for mobile phones and computers, each with 256 GB of memory, 1 silent generator and 5 boxes of matching diesel. 10 flashlights, 20 large-capacity power banks, and 5 sets of tents and sleeping bags that can be used to keep warm. On the recommendation of my boss, I also bought a set of outdoor supplies, which included infrared telescopes, axes, ropes, compasses, locators, walkie-talkies and other field equipment. Later, after much persuasion from me, the boss secretly sold me his collection of tang swords and mechanical crossbows. Including the matching crossbow arrows, the total cost was more than 90,000. I scanned the code and paid with some reluctance. After paying this, there was only 6,000 yuan left in the phone. It's 10 o'clock in the morning, and there are still 7 hours until the end of the world. Wearing a mask, I quickly walked into the largest warehouse supermarket in the city. Following the instructions on the sign, I rushed into the wine and beverage area first. The finger seemed to accidentally pass over the mineral water, and the height of the mineral water piled up like a small hill was reduced by half a meter. I closed my eyes and felt it. There weren't many, just a few hundred boxes. Next, I went through the snack area, fruit area, fresh food area, grain and oil area, seasoning area, daily necessities area. The warehouse supermarket covers an area of 30,000 square meters, and I walked around until my feet were sore. But I didn't expect to meet Kelly and Robert here. As soon as he saw me, Robert rushed over and scolded me, "Elena, why are you like this now? We have already asked someone to appraise it. The market value of your jade pendant is only a few hundred yuan at most." "Elena, don't blame Robert. He was just afraid that you would go astray and cheat people with a fake jade pendant, so he got angry," Kelly said, carefully observing the expression on my face. But she was destined to be disappointed. I opened my eyes wide innocently and looked at her, pretending to be confused. "Ah? What fake jade pendant? The one I gave you is the real one. Didn't Robert confirm it at that time? You are not regretting it, so you bite me back and say that the jade pendant is fake, right?" Kelly's expression froze. Even Robert gave her a suspicious look. I took a few steps back with a fake smile and shook off her hand. I treat you as my best friend, Kelly, so I gave up the ancestral jade pendant. If you regret it, just say it directly. There is no need to slander me. I pretended to take out my cell phone and return the money. Kelly quickly held my hand. Elena, I'm just joking, don't mind it. Looking at the uncomfortable look on her face, I knew I won the bet. In fact, if she had waited a few more seconds, she would have seen the insufficient balance prompt. But she didn't dare to gamble. I dare not even return the jade pendant to me. Kelly insisted on following me to the supermarket entrance. I know what she's planning. He just wanted to see if I had stockpiled a lot of supplies. Unfortunately, now is not the time to fall out. In front of them, I opened the trunk directly. When Kelly saw that there was only half a box of mineral water and some vegetables and fruits that had just been bought in the huge trunk, she secretly breathed a sigh of relief and dispelled the doubts in her eyes. She was about to say something when a staff member not far away suddenly waved his hand and shouted, "Kelly, the goods you requested are ready. Please come over and count them." Looking at the pile of goods, I quietly took a photo and then asked in surprise, "There are so many, can you finish them all by yourself?" Kelly's face turned black. She was the kind of person who was extremely selfish. Otherwise, in my previous life, he wouldn't have had a lot of supplies but was so stingy that he wouldn't even give me a bottle of water. Our company is going out for a picnic, so they sent me out to purchase some supplies. Kelly gathered the hair around her ears, looking innocent and natural. I had a smile on my face, but my heart was getting colder. Even at this point, Kelly still didn't intend to share any news about the end of the world with me. But it doesn't matter. The friendship between her and I that had lasted for many years was severed by her own hands in the last life, and all that was left was hatred. Kelly is indeed cautious enough. Although she went back, she left Robert behind. Elena, it's inevitable that there will be some minor frictions between lovers, but it will be fine as long as we talk it out. Today is a holiday, why don't you and Robert take this opportunity to relax? Kelly asked tentatively, a glimmer of malice in her eyes. Obviously, she wants to use Robert to spy on me. Once I stockpile supplies, I'm afraid the news will reach her in the next second. I looked up and smiled, okay, it happens that I haven't eaten at a buffet in a long time. Robert frowned and was about to refuse, but he succumbed to Kelly's pleading eyes. I sneered in my heart, pretending not to notice the reluctance on Robert's face, and pulled him straight to a nearby barbecue buffet restaurant with an excellent reputation. The reason I chose this place was not for anything else, but simply to take advantage of the buffet restaurant. Didn't Kelly send Robert to monitor my actions because he was afraid that I would hoard supplies? Then I will collect delicacies openly under his nose. Freshly cut beef and mutton, half-roasted squid and prawns, juicy fried steak, as well as sweet and sour pork, braised chicken, squirrel mandarin fish and other delicacies from all over the world. There are free drinks, cold fruit platters, and even staple foods such as Yangzhou fried rice, hot dry noodles, steamed buns and flour rolls. There are so many people coming and going in a buffet restaurant that even if the restaurant finds that the quantity of ingredients is abnormal, it will not be able to find out for a while. What's more, the zombie virus will break out in a few hours. Who will be able to find out about me then? After coming out of the cafeteria, Robert checked the time on his phone. Then, as if he had accomplished a mission, he left impatiently. Without surveillance, I hurried to the pharmacy to stock up on some common medicines, and then went to the farmer's market to buy some seeds, fertilizers, and nutrient soil. At around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I calculated the time and walked into the community on time. There is still half an hour until the end of the world. I took a deep breath and began to make final preparations before the end of the world. The end of the world will soon bring water and electricity outages. Not only cold water, but hot water also needs to be prepared in advance. I saw that there were only a few dozen yuan left for gas bill, so I decisively recharged another 200 yuan. Then close the doors and windows, draw the curtains, and charge all the power banks. After everything was ready, I took out the 20 USB flash drives I had stockpiled and started downloading various videos and materials. At 5 o'clock in the afternoon, Doomsday arrived on time. With a shrill scream, the old lady carrying the shopping bags nimbly pounced on the young man next to her and started biting him. Blood soon seeped out. The security guard on duty saw this and ran over to help. Unexpectedly, the old woman, who could hardly stand steadily on normal days, became extremely strong at this time, and several young and strong men could not control her. I looked at the chaos outside the window, and my heart, which had been hanging in the air, finally settled down. On TV, the content that was originally being played has disappeared and has been replaced with a blue background with white text reading emergency notice. Attention all citizens. On the evening of the 11th, many parts of the world were attacked by an unknown virus. According to incomplete statistics, the number of infected people worldwide has exceeded 1 million and is still on the rise. Please keep quiet and wait patiently for rescue. Watching the same content as in my previous life, I calmly turned off the TV and looked out the window. In just a short while, dozens of zombies appeared in the community. Their eyes were gray and they walked with a staggering gait. But when they encounter prey, they become extremely ferocious and bite anyone they see. The screams echoed throughout the entire community, and even the air was filled with the smell of blood. "Girl, are you okay over there?" In the video, my dad's voice was shaking as he spoke. "Is this why you asked us to stock up on supplies?" I quickly warned him, zombies carry viruses, and if you are scratched or bitten by them, the chance of infection is almost 100%. Please stay at home during this period, and make sure to lock the doors and windows. Even though you have a well at home, don't forget to store water. Also, zombies are very sensitive to sounds and smells. When you cook, remember to keep the noise down and don't turn on the lights at home to avoid being spotted by others. At last. My voice was a little choked, and all the grievances since my rebirth burst out in an instant. How I wish I could be with them at this moment. It's a pity that I was reborn too late. In order to ensure the future life of our family, I can only stock up on supplies and wait for an opportunity to go back later. Mom and Dad, from now on, don't trust anyone and don't care about anyone. I will come back to find you after some time. My dad wanted to say something, but my mom snatched the phone away. "Daughter, you are out here alone, you must take good care of yourself. Your dad and I are not going anywhere. We will wait for you to come back home." Considering that there were still many zombies wandering around in the community, all residents remained quiet. Just then, a message popped up in the chat box. "Kelly, Elena, how are you doing over there? At this time, you still don't forget to inquire about me?" I sneered and posted something online using my second account. Shock. Someone actually predicted the end of the world in advance? I described Kelly's massive stockpiling behavior today in detail, using the tone of a supermarket employee. Who understands? I just followed the trend and bought a few big bags of food and drinking water, and the doomsday came in the evening. Now you don't have to worry even if you are trapped at home. In the past, the behavior of hoarding supplies would definitely be criticized by netizens as brainless, but it is different now. Because the end of the world has really come. To add authenticity to the post, I also uploaded a photo. It was a photo of Kelly directing supermarket staff to load supplies onto a pickup truck. After the post was released, it quickly caused heated discussion. Some people envied Kelly for stockpiling a large amount of supplies in advance, but more people dug up Kelly's personal information. After doing all this, I quit the account directly. He no longer responds to private messages from netizens. I admit my bad taste. I believe it won't be long before someone follows the clues on the internet and finds Kelly. By then, will she still be able to keep those supplies? After doing all this, I turned off my phone and sank into the soft quilt. At night, more and more zombies surrounded the community, and all kinds of roars could be heard almost all night long. Just by listening to those heart-wrenching screams, one can imagine the despair of the residents in the community. I put on my headphones and tried not to listen to the noise outside. With the experience of my previous life, I know very well, the most terrifying thing at the end of the world is not the zombies, but the human heart. If you want to survive the doomsday, the first thing you need to do is get rid of your cheap sympathy. Just as the sky was getting light, sporadic gunshots were suddenly heard outside the community. I quickly got up from the bed, but I only saw the backs of the rescue team being chased by the zombies. On the second day after the apocalypse, the city was almost completely destroyed. Thick smoke was everywhere, and some areas had already begun to suffer from water and power outages. I washed my face with cold water and regained consciousness instantly. Breakfast was steaming shrimp porridge. Pour large pieces of shrimp and diced vegetables into the porridge, which is nutritious and delicious. After dinner, I leaned back on the sofa and continued to educate my parents about zombies. Finally, I want to emphasize again, don't be a saintly person. Because in the last days, human hearts are the most vulnerable to temptation. Even a friend who was smiling at you in the last second may stab you in the back without hesitation in the next second. For several days, I was organizing the supplies in the space. Although there is a lot of food in the space, most of it is uncooked. In order to avoid the inconvenience of cooking due to water and power outages in the future, I cooked almost all the delicious food I could think of. There were washed and cut fruit platters, purple rice balls of various flavors, golden fried crispy chicken chops and popcorn chicken, even 200 servings of rice with different flavors. One day, I was washing pig intestines vigorously when I suddenly heard a heart-wrenching cry coming from the balcony opposite. "Son, you are a bastard. If you dare to use the food at home to help that bitch upstairs, I will take your son and jump off from here." I leaned over and took a peek from the balcony. The child was only 4 or 5 years old. He held the balcony railing with one hand and cried loudly in fear. There is a huge group of zombies downstairs. But the woman was determined to pull him, with half of her body already leaning out of the balcony. This scene was seen by many people, and they all asked the woman to calm down. Now that the doomsday has just arrived, most people still retain the kindness and enthusiasm they had before the doomsday. However, the woman acted as if she didn't hear anything and jumped straight away, grabbing the child. I closed my eyes and dared not look anymore. The further we go, the more thoroughly human nature is exposed. Hunger, fear, depression, these most direct emotions of human beings, once they cannot be vented, will accumulate more and more until they crush the person. The 10th day of the end of the world. According to the material reserves of an average household, they have been almost consumed by this time. The atmosphere in the group became visibly anxious. What should I do? The food in the refrigerator is almost gone. Didn't they say that help would arrive soon? Why is there no sign of them now? I have run out of food at home. If anyone has extra food, I am willing to buy it. No matter how much it costs. The group is filled with messages asking for help. Unfortunately, most people are just watching the fun, and few are really willing to lend a helping hand. Firstly, we are all neighbors, and if we sell goods at high prices at this time, we will inevitably be accused of being greedy for money. Secondly, everyone knows that as long as the doomsday does not end, the supplies in hand are life-saving, and no one dares to sell the supplies to others at this time. I watched silently for a while, and just as I was about to quit, I saw someone sharing a link in the group. Upon closer inspection, it was exactly the post I had posted online. The topic was very popular, with more than 100,000 likes alone. I took a quick look and found that Kelly's personal information had been completely exposed. She also wanted to use the company as an excuse to fool her netizens, but was exposed by her colleagues on the spot. Purchasing materials has always been the responsibility of our logistics department. When will it be your marketing department's turn to take charge? Kelly didn't reply. But the topic escalated. In the latest few comments, some netizens claiming to be Kelly's neighbors are ready to come and borrow supplies. It was soon noon. On the table were packaged stir-fried pork intestines, braised pork intestines with hot peppers, pork intestines with dry pot, and roasted pork intestines with stir-fried green onions. Although pig intestines are delicious, they are really troublesome to prepare. After preparing them for 2 days in a row, I feel like my body is almost marinated with the flavor. Just as I was about to take a shower, deafening singing suddenly broke out from downstairs. And the direction seems to be the apartment building opposite? I quickly took out my binoculars and opened the curtain a little. Downstairs, a group of zombies were gathering towards the opposite side like crazy. With a crisp click sound, the door of the unit opposite was directly cracked. The number of messages in the community group quickly increased to 99 plus. Damn, who shamelessly threw a Bluetooth speaker downstairs? Damn it, don't let me catch who it is. Someone come and save us, the zombies have entered the building. I looked at the messages in the group and felt terrified. This scene didn't seem to have happened in my previous life. Just then, the phone vibrated. Damn it, who closed the corridor door? Please come down quickly. Kelly and I are trapped in the underground garage. It's Robert. I was stunned for a moment, and quickly opened the post I had just read that morning. There has been a follow-up to the issue of borrowing supplies. Just as I guessed. Robert and Kelly remained completely unmoved by their neighbor's humble requests. He even took advantage of the new double-layer stainless steel security door at home and made direct mockery. This would incur public outrage. More than a dozen people broke into her house and frantically looted all kinds of supplies. Kelly tried her best to stop him, but in the end only a few packets of instant noodles were left. As for Robert? As soon as that group of people broke in, I was so scared that I hid on the balcony. I looked at my phone that was vibrating wildly, my eyes flashing. In order to enter the community smoothly, Robert and his friends led all the zombies to the opposite apartment building. I guess the residents of the apartment building opposite must hate them to death. Thinking of this, I sent a message in the group anonymously. Where is the property management? Check the surveillance immediately. It seems like someone broke into the underground garage just now. As the news came out, many people in the group at property.com checked the surveillance. After all, it is a matter involving the safety of the entire community, and this time, the property management did not shirk its responsibility. Soon, two figures with bruised faces and noses appeared in the surveillance video. Looking at the real-time images shared by the property management, the group suddenly exploded. Especially the residents of the apartment building opposite, they all wanted to tear the outsiders to pieces with their bare hands. Fuck, who is this person? He is leading the zombies to our side in order to survive. Does anyone recognize these two? They look familiar. Damn, I'm willing to give 10 bags of instant noodles. Who can deal with these two bitches? At this moment, a message with the note AAA game substitute Ligo popped up. AAA game proxy player Ligo, I have a way. The group suddenly became quiet. Just when everyone was wondering if this was a prank, a drone appeared out of nowhere. The deafening singing sounded again. The zombies that were originally besieging the apartment building opposite were attracted by the drone and immediately changed direction and rushed towards the underground garage. The surveillance footage in the group is still being updated in real time. A silver-white drone drew an arc in the air, followed by a surging horde of zombies. Robert looked at Kelly, who was pale with fear, and made a decision quickly. Kelly, please bear with it for me. He stretched out his hand and pushed Kelly into the crowd of zombies without hesitation, then turned and ran in the opposite direction. Seeing this scene, I was silent. This is Robert. They say they love you, but when danger comes, they will abandon you without hesitation. 10 minutes later, the phone suddenly vibrated twice. Elena, Kelly has been eaten by zombies. Can you forgive me? When I saw these words that sounded like they were seeking credit, I felt a chill run down my spine. Robert is still sending messages persistently. Elena, I really know I was wrong. After this period of time, I finally saw my heart clearly and realized that the person I love the most has always been you. I don't know how long the doomsday will last. You're a girl, and I'm really worried about you. Let me stay by your side and protect you. Backup number, DS, TI, E2-1. Oh. How dare he say such a thing? It is obvious that they are coveting other people's materials, but they actually call it protection? Do you really think everyone else is a fool? I was too lazy to pay attention to him and just set my phone to silent mode. When I woke up, there was a power outage. The neighborhood was pitch black. I tried calling home. Fortunately, the call was still connected, but the signal was intermittent and it looked like it wouldn't last long. We chatted in low voices for a while before reluctantly hanging up the phone. After daybreak, the last signal disappeared. It is at this time that the evil in human nature begins to be aroused. In just one morning, the supermarket outside the community was visited several times. The last time, a group of people directly occupied the supermarket and locked the boss and his family out. The boss hid here and there with his child in his arms, and finally got back to the car, but the people smashed the window again with laughter. The neighborhood is not peaceful either. The property people began searching for food door to door. They also don't attack those who have someone at home. If you see someone busy at a store, just pass it by and go to the next one. Surprisingly, the residents of the community did not object to this matter. Everyone thought that once the property collected enough food, it would definitely be distributed to them. Even I had this fantasy in my previous life. 1 day, 2 days, there was still no movement from the property. Some people were so hungry that they ventured to the property management office, only to find that the office was already empty. After learning the truth, residents of the entire community collapsed. That is to say, not only did they miss the last chance to collect supplies, they even watched others take the supplies away from them. I was so stupid, really. I thought they were collecting supplies for the residents of the community, but I didn't expect them to be such people. I was even more stupid. Seeing them sweating profusely while moving things, I actually felt sorry for them and brought them 2 bottles of drinks. The 28th day of the end of the world. I leaned against the window, holding the telescope in one hand. Downstairs, an off-road vehicle rushed left and right and finally broke through the encirclement of the zombies. But not everyone was as lucky as them. More people were overwhelmed by the surging swarm of zombies before they even left the community. Since the official announcement of the safe zone, more and more people could not wait and chose to go to the safe zone with their remaining supplies. After all, if you stay in the community, there will always be a day when you run out of food and ammunition, but if you fight, you may still have a chance to survive. For lunch, we had rice noodles with sauerkraut and pork intestines. The steaming rice noodles are topped with pork intestines, peanuts, enoki mushrooms and other side dishes, which are sour, spicy and appetizing. After drinking a mouthful of hot soup, I felt relaxed all over. Just after finishing the meal, there was a knock on the door. I calmly cleaned up the dishes and then walked over slowly. Outside the door, Robert's voice sounded a little anxious. "Elena, open the door. Someone has started sweeping the floors. They will reach your floor in a little while." Downstairs, zombies were banging on the door frantically, and there was a lot of noise inside the building. Everything seemed to match what Robert said. Seeing that I didn't say anything, Robert's voice became more urgent. "Elena, I came here to tell you because I was really worried about you. Open the door. You know how cruel those people who sweep the building are." The security door was slammed. I listened to him for a long time, but I couldn't help it and interrupted him. "Robert, have you finished acting?" The noise outside the door paused for a moment, and then the knocking on the door became louder. Along with this noise, there was also a teasing laugh. "You're still using your beauty to lure men, but in the end you still have to rely on my axe?" The other party pushed Robert away, and the sharp axe tip fell directly on the door railing. Bang! The force was so great that the entire door frame was shaking. I frowned. If this continued, this door would not last long. The people outside were still shouting, "If you know what's best for you, open the door yourself. Maybe we'll be happy and save your life." I said calmly, "You are breaking the law. Aren't you afraid that I will call the police?" "Call the police?" The man seemed to have heard something funny, and even stopped prying the door open. "There is no internet or signal now. If you have the guts, call the police and see if they will come to arrest us. To tell you the truth, you are the only one still alive in this building, besides the 2 of us. So that's how it is." Hearing this, I slowly curled my lips. This way, I won't have to worry about what happened today getting leaked out. I put my hand on the door armrest and opened the security door. The 2 people outside the door were startled. While they were not paying attention, I directly brought out a basin of boiling sugar water from the space. Then he splashed it mercilessly. The boiling hot sugar water instantly formed large blisters when it came into contact with the skin. This is what I prepared carefully for them. I have been waiting for this moment since the building sweep started in the neighborhood 2 days ago. But I didn't expect Robert to come to my door. Seeing the 2 of them rolling on the ground in pain, I curled my lips and took out the chilly water that I had prepared long ago from the space. Everyone who comes is a guest, so of course we have to treat them well. I poured a whole basin of chilly water on it without hesitation. The shrill screams rang out again. But this time I had no time to appreciate it. Downstairs, the roars of the zombies were getting closer. Robert and the other 2 seemed to realize something. Just as they were about to crawl into the house, they saw the security door in front of them slam shut again. Clang, clang. The banging noise outside has never stopped since last night. In order to enter the building, hundreds of zombies built a ladder, and the zombie standing at the top banged against the security window frantically. Today is the 35th day since the end of the world. The zombies began to chase the human scent. On the radio, the authorities issued a notice early in the morning, emphasizing the importance of maintaining quiet. There are zombies wandering everywhere. Especially the windows on the first floor, which were almost blocked by zombies. 2 days later, the zombie horde began to move towards the upper floors. Early in the morning, I sprayed a lot of floral water on the windows and doors. The footsteps downstairs became more frequent. I was worried, so I poured another bottle of toilet water on myself. Fortunately, the zombies did not notice this floor and walked straight upstairs. Bang, bang. There were constant banging sounds upstairs, and the entire corridor seemed to be shaking. I huddled in the tiny bathroom, not daring to even breathe. Zombies have a very keen sense of smell. As long as they smell a little bit of human scent, they will not leave easily. I waited patiently until the heavy footsteps gradually faded away, and then I breathed a sigh of relief. After a few more days, the only sound left in the entire community was the roar of the zombies. I started to be more cautious than I had been in the previous few days. Without enough flesh and blood to support them, the zombies downstairs became visibly violent. They began to hunt all kinds of living things frantically until they could no longer smell the scent of other living things. The neighborhood became increasingly quiet. According to my observation, there are probably no more than 5 households left in the community. This is all thanks to the rain a few days ago. Someone took a bucket to the balcony to collect water. Otherwise, I wouldn't know that there were other survivors in the community besides me. I was lying by the window out of boredom, numbering the zombies wandering around the community. For example, the elementary school student zombies downstairs. I guess he had just finished school when the virus broke out and didn't even have time to put down his school bag, so he carried it like this for several months. There is also the one-eyed old man, who lost his eyeball when he was slapped in the face by other zombies while competing for prey. Occasionally, zombies wearing rescue suits would appear around. Bright colors always catch people's attention at first glance. Life without the internet is boring. But compared to those who need to risk going out to find supplies, I am undoubtedly lucky. People should know how to be content. The 81st day of the end of the world. Snowflakes were falling from the sky. Early in the morning, I was awakened by the noise on the balcony. At first I thought it was a zombie attacking me, and I was so scared that I jumped off the bed. When I opened the curtains, I saw a silver-gray drone. There is a small cloth bag hanging under the drone, which contains a fairy wand and a greeting card. There were a few words written crookedly on the greeting card with a colored pen. Happy New Year! I stood there in a daze for a long time before I realized what was going on. Today is the Gregorian calendar year, which is New Year's Day. Seeing the drone about to fly away again, I subconsciously said, "Wait." The drone seemed to understand and indeed stopped. I quickly grabbed a handful of candy from the table, put it in a bag, and tied it to the drone. It flew away slowly, carrying with it a hint of warm greetings and New Year's hopes. A few days ago, several households could no longer hold on and ventured out of the community. Now, apart from me, the only person still staying in the community is room 805 in Building 2. We have never met, but we know each other exists. After all, I have discovered more than once that room 805 used drones to spy on what was happening in my house, and I have also used binoculars to spy on their actions more than once. After closing the balcony door, I rubbed my hands, which were a little red from the cold. Although the snow outside was not heavy, the air was extremely cold. The zombies were frozen stiff and their movements slowed down. Looking at the faint light emitted from the fairy wand, I hesitated for a long time and finally made a decision: go home. Compared with previous winters, this year's winter is obviously abnormally cold. I'm really worried about the situation on my parents' side. In addition, due to the influence of the cold air, the zombies move slowly and their attack power is greatly reduced. It is the best time to go home. Otherwise, when spring comes next year, who knows if the zombies will return to their previous appearance. Thinking of this, I immediately changed into thick clothes and hurried downstairs. Just as I was about to leave the community, a man as thin as a monkey jumped out. Elena, it's you. I thought I had the wrong person. The man had just crawled out of the sewer, and his clothes were so dirty that you couldn't tell their original color. You can smell his stench from a long distance away. But he acted very familiar and came up to open the passenger door. It wasn't until he came closer that I could barely recognize his identity, Robert. I quickly locked the car door. It's been such a chaotic time, and Robert is still alive? I was a little shocked. Robert stared at me. That post on Weibo was posted by you, right? Just because you were jealous that I chose Kelly, you encouraged those people to steal our supplies? You dare to splash boiling sugar water on someone. Do you know that your actions have killed a person? Robert said this, subconsciously touching the side of his disfigured face. I looked at him expressionlessly, not missing the flash of resentment in his eyes. The end of the world could come at any time, and hidden dangers like Robert must not be left behind. Seeing that I didn't move, Robert looked at me fiercely. What are you looking at? Aren't you afraid that I will tell others about what you did? Why don't you open the door quickly? The door must be opened, but not now. I swerved the steering wheel, and Robert was caught off guard and was knocked to the ground. Fuck, what are you doing? Do you know how to drive? Sometimes, verbal arguments are the most useless thing. I lowered the window halfway and pointed the mechanical crossbow at him. Call out. Without any hesitation, the crossbow arrow shot towards Robert. With a distance of less than half a meter, there is absolutely no possibility of error. Moreover, the arrow had been treated with the dirty blood of zombies in advance. Robert didn't even have a chance to beg for mercy before an arrow shot through his throat. I got out of the car and gave him another clean and decisive blow with the axe, completely eliminating the possibility of him turning into a zombie. Along the way, survivors kept waving and signaling the SUV to stop. Little girl, are you going to the safe zone? Can you give me a ride? And me, I want to go to the safe zone too. I have a lot of brand name bags. You can pick anyone you want if you're willing to give me a ride. Seeing that I didn't stop, those people quickly changed their expressions. What's wrong with the young people nowadays? They are so cold-blooded and selfish. Don't you see there are old people and children here? What's wrong with taking a ride? It won't cost you anything. It's not like I don't want to pay. I didn't even look at them, I just stepped on the accelerator and drove away. People's hearts are unpredictable at the end of the world, and who knows what will happen if they stop. If the car is detained, it will be a small matter, but if the person is detained, it will be troublesome. Because I had to avoid zombies, the journey that would have taken more than 10 hours took me 2 days and 1 night to reach my destination. The village became much more desolate. I drove slowly on the dirt road in the village until I saw the place I had been thinking about day and night. 1 step, 2 steps. I stopped in front of the familiar door. Maybe I'm homesick. In the temperature of dozens of degrees below zero, my palms were sweating. Boom, boom, boom. I knocked on the door. Seeing no movement, I couldn't help but knock a few more times. This time, I saw through the crack in the door that there seemed to be a flashlight flashing in the yard, but it soon disappeared. TSK, the old couple are quite cautious. I held back my laughter and shouted in a low voice, Mom and Dad, it's me. Elena? This time, the door was opened quickly. My mother looked at me in disbelief, then twisted my father's arm hard. Elena is back, am I dreaming? My dad grimaced in pain. My mother surrounded me, looking here and there, and finally concluded, you've lost weight. So the next morning, the old hen that I had raised at home for several years went into my stomach. Because it is too remote, my hometown has not been greatly affected by the zombie virus. The few remaining zombies are still trapped in the trap in the back mountain and have not been able to get out yet. Seeing that there was nothing missing at home, I didn't confess the matter of the space. After all, my parents are old, and I don't want them to worry about these things. This winter is exceptionally long. It wasn't until May of the following year that the snow began to show signs of melting. After a winter of sedimentation, various plants are scrambling to sprout new buds. Vitality. I felt this word for the first time in a long time. At the same time, good news came on the radio. The village chief convened a meeting and announced in public that the end of the world was approaching. Upon hearing the news, everyone couldn't help but cheer. The village chief tried hard to suppress the excitement in his eyes and put on a serious look. When the time comes, everyone should stay at home and no one should go out to cause trouble. On the 292nd day of the end of the world, heavy rain fell on time. The zombies that had been surrounding the foot of the mountain seemed to have suddenly pressed the pause button and stood stupidly in the rain, motionless. A few minutes later, the zombies suddenly started fighting without any warning. There are broken limbs everywhere. I accidentally caught a glimpse of this scene and almost vomited out of disgust. I also lost my appetite for the spicy mixed salad that had just come out of the pot. A few days later, a row of military trucks stopped at the foot of the mountain, with bright national flags fluttering in the air. Sorry for the wait, everyone. The national security zone has been completed, and we have been ordered to pick you up and take you to the safe zone for temporary residence. Next, we will carry out disinfection tasks to prevent the zombie virus from breaking out again. Looking at the military green figure getting out of the car, everyone's eyes were wet. We have finally seen the light of day. I stood in the crowd, looking at the familiar National Rescue Army, my heart filled with emotion. After going through so much, a new beginning finally arrived. I looked back at my parents behind me, and their eyes were also full of relief. At this moment, I know that no matter what the future holds, we are ready to embrace a new life.